In this video, we will be going over distance and finding points on line segments. For our formulas, we have the square root, x minus x squared plus y minus y squared. As long as you follow the same pattern with your x's and your y's, you are fine. You can pick the order. Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. These two formulas work together. They'll do the same thing. So when I'm given the distance on a graph, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem. 6 squared plus 3 squared equals, I don't know what the hypotenuse is. 6 squared plus 3 squared equals 45. Square root to get rid of the power, which gives us 6.7 for the distance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Add those together. 5 squared plus 7 squared is 74. Square root it. 8.6 is the distance of that segment. On this one, I can just count. This one's distance is 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 squared plus 4 squared is 41. Square root, and we get 6.4. On example 2, we are given 2 points, x, y, x, y. X minus a negative 6 squared plus y minus y squared. When I enter it in, I do second square root. I need to type my own parenthesis. -1 minus negative 6 parentheses squared plus parenthesis 5 minus -5 parentheses squared. 11.2. On the question to the right, I do x, y, x, y. X minus x squared plus y minus y squared. I need to make sure I type my own parenthesis. Even if your calculator shows one, type your own. -3 minus 7 squared plus -3 minus -7 squared. 10.8. X minus x squared plus y minus y squared. Zero minus 3. 6.7 for that distance. X minus x plus y minus y. For the midpoints, we'll be finding the middle point on the line. So I'm going to find how far apart they are. If these ones are 1 apart, I go half the distance until it intersects that segment. This point is over 0.5, up 1, 2.5. This one I have over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I cut that in half, so I only go over 4. And I look for where that hits the line. That midpoint is at 0 up 0.5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cut it in half. That point is 2 down 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I cut that in half, it's only 2.5. And that point would be over 2 down 1.5. Finding the midpoint on these ones, we're going to use algebra or just counting principle. If I want the midpoint, I'm only going to go half the distance. So if I have -8 to +1, 8 plus 1 is 9. It goes from a negative to a positive, so it was increasing. -8 plus 9 equals 1. That's the distance. It went plus 9. -1 to -6 was subtract 5 because it became smaller by 5. That distance, I only want half of it. So I do 9 times 1/2 is a positive 4.5. Notice I line it up under the first point. -5 times 1/2 is -2.5. Add straight down. And then when I do -1 minus 2.5, it equals -3.5 as well. So that would be my midpoint. -3 to -7, that would be subtracting 4. 1 to -8 is subtracting 9. Take half of that. Half of 4 is -2. Half of 9 is -4.5. Add straight down, that gives me -5, comma, -3.5 for my midpoint. 8 to -2, 8 and 2 put together make 10. Because it's going to a negative, I subtract. 0 to 3 would be adding 3. Half of that distance would be a -5. Half of 3 would be 1.5, and it's a positive. 8 minus 5 is 3. 0 plus 1.5 is 1.5. 0 to -8, minus 8. 9 to 8 is -1. Half of that would be a -4 minus a 0.5. 0 minus 4 is -4. 9 minus a half is 8.5. When you do that with other points on a line, we're going to do the same pattern. I start with 2, 9. Notice it is in the starting position, so that is correct. 2/3 the distance. So 2, 9 is the first point. 2 to -4 is subtracting 6. 9 to 6 is 9 and 6 makes 15, and it's subtracting. This time I only want 2/3 of it. So I'm going to do -6 parentheses 2/3 is a -4. -15 2/3 is a -10, which gives me 2 minus 4 is -2, -1. And that point is 2/3 the distance from 2, 9. That's why it's first. 7, 25 is my first point, and I'm going to -8, -17. I need 1/3 of the distance. 7 plus 8 makes -15. 2 to -17, I add those up. 25 plus 17 is 42, but because it's becoming negative, I subtract. 1/3 of that distance. So we would enter in negative 15, 1/3, negative 42, 1/3. 7 minus 5 is 2. That would be 11. Example 7, negative 5, negative 12 is my first point. I have to be really careful. That means 7, 4 is my last point, so I had to reorganize. I had to order my points correctly because these were incorrectly organized. This one should have been first. Negative 5 to 7, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, adding 12. Negative 12 to 14 is adding 12, 13, 14, 16. I only want 3/4 of that. So I would do 12 3/4, 16 3/4. That gives me 4, 0. When I find the end points, so I'm given an end and the mid, I'm trying to find the other end point. I know that this distance should match this distance. So if negative 9 goes to negative 9, it's adding nothing. So then that means my other half should be equal distance, which means it would be a negative 9. 5 to 1 is a subtract 4, so I have to match that distance and minus 4 again. 1 minus 4 is negative 3. And there's your other end point. Negative 8 to negative 7 is adding 1. Add 1 again to get negative 6. 5 to 3 is subtracting 2. Subtract 2 again to get a 1. 2 to 10 is adding 8. Add 8 again and you get 18. 0 to 4 is plus 4. Add it again and you get 8. 10 to negative 7 is subtracting 17. Minus 17 again is negative 24. 1 to 9 is adding 8. Add 8 again and you get 17.